Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I'm so excited to celebrate with you today, my friend Maurice Fernandez. I know you've seen him on my channel before, going back years and more recently as well. Maurice, way back in the day, it must have been 2009, 2010. That was the first time I interviewed him. And he has since truly emerged as a leader in evolutionary astrology, world renowned, truly, and has made such an impact in that field. And we are just so blessed to have Maurice as part of the March 2024 speaker series at Synchronicity University. As you're watching this, you've got just a couple weeks left to take advantage of our world famous Choose Your Tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, to learn from Maurice and other astrologers. But really, Maurice is the big dog for this speaker series. Doesn't need a whole lot of introduction. Everybody knows him. To know him is to love him. Maurice, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Nadiya. And you're doing wonderful work spreading astrology and good quality. So I'm honored to be working with you and bring important knowledge as we are approaching these dramatic cycles, right? So what I will be speaking about is an alignment of the planet Jupiter and Uranus coming together on April 20th. So they come together every 13 years. And it's usually a time when it brings the higher frequency among us. And what we want to do as we unpack this and understand this cycle is not only see how it will affect us in the following weeks and the following months, because it's not just on the actual day it happens, it has a rippling effect. But it's also how it will affect your chart, and especially if you have any Jupiter-Uranus aspect natally, but if you also have planets around that degree, and if you have prominent Jupiter and Uranus in your chart. So understanding these energies helps you understand your life, helps you understand how to navigate these times, because quite frankly, as we live in times of intensity and a lot of upheaval and insecurity, there's something about the Jupiter-Uranus that brings hope, that brings opportunity in a way that is different from other times. So I'm looking forward to unpacking this and really discussing how we can make the best use of it. So we are riding this wave, in most beneficial ways, and also be aware of how to mitigate the possible setbacks. From an evolutionary point of view, you introduced me as an evolutionary astrologer. And what is evolutionary astrology in a nutshell? It's really about understanding that whatever's in your chart, whatever's happening in the sky, has an intention. And so, when we say, oh, you have this placement, and so you're very controlling, or, you have that placement, and so you're very lucky. From an evolutionary point of view, we want to understand not just what the outcome is, but what is the intention? And understanding that the universe, and I'm going to quote you, is wise and intelligent and loving. So everything has a purpose. And everything is an evolutionary lesson. And I'm talking about consciousness. So, what is the evolutionary lesson for Jupiter Uranus? And knowing that will help you align with the divine purpose behind it.
It is very poetic, isn't it? Yeah. To consider, I know so many astrologers are talking about how important this conjunction is. And so presenting it from that evolutionary perspective, I think brings this whole other dimension and understanding to it.
Well, the very interesting thing about this particular one, I mean, first of all, going briefly, over historical events, previous Jupiter-Uranus conjunction took us to the moon in 1969. That was also, it was in the summer of 1969, the moon landing. It was also Woodstock, this massive cultural event. So why is that? Like, what's behind this? When we speak about intention, think about both Jupiter and Uranus are the two forces in our charts and in the sky that represent really the going beyond the frontiers, going beyond, And so it is adventurous. It's immensely expansive. If we think of Jupiter being expansive and about growth and travel and exploration, bring Uranus that has to do with acceleration, space travel, higher intelligence. So the fusion of these forces is really, in the full sense of the word, spreading our wings. So there's something very liberating and elevating. Uranus is a sky god mythologically. And so it takes us to the sky the same way that the tree reaches up to the sun, right? So there's this aspiration to go higher, and that can be very literal when you are living in a penthouse on a skyscraper, so you're very high. Uranian people will often go for the view. But there's a spiritual aspect to that, because having the view means that you have perspective, means that you can look at life from above, just like when you're on an airplane and you look at the earth and everything looks different and you realize, how there are no borders, or there are no, we're all connected and things like that. So it is about that level of elevation that is not only physical, but it's also spiritual and intellectual. So we're speaking about the high-minded, the refined, I'm going to quote someone with Sun Uranus conjunct, Sigmund Freud. And he said that when humans will learn to fight with words rather than weapons, we'll be in a better place. He didn't say it in those words. I don't even remember the exact wording, but that's a very Uranian statement, that we need to be more civilized. We need to be more aware and bring the best, the higher essence of our consciousness. And so what's unique about these two planets coming together is that they take us high. But what's particular to this time is that it's in the sign of Taurus. And Taurus is all about Earth. It's all about down here, the physical. So when Uranus and Jupiter speak about the great beyond, the higher perspective, the elevation, and going beyond gravity, because going up and flying is defying gravity. Taurus, on the other hand, is all about rooting and nourishment and the physical manifestation. So it's a very complex fusion here that at first may seem like a conundrum, something that shouldn't be together. But that's the beauty of evolutionary astrology, I think, is that there's no mistake. There's no, this shouldn't work. Everything has a purpose. Every fusion, every combination and alignment has a purpose. And here the purpose is to bring these higher thoughts, the higher self, in the material world. So how to basically bring the ideal in a practical way. Because one of the risks of Uranus, Jupiter, when people are born with that, is that they may be great philosophers. Even many astrologers have that aspect. It's very common in the field of astrology because we are thinkers, we are poets, we are explorers of the psyche and of spirit. But quite often the risk is to stay up there and not know how to bring it on a day-to-day level. So that is going to be the challenge of this combination in Taurus. And, I'm just going to share an illustration.
You mentioned that this conjunction took place when we landed on the moon for the first time. But that landing on the moon wasn't just about a scientific achievement. It was that, but it represented a leap in consciousness, actually. It was like a huge step forward. That's why they say one giant leap for mankind. And what he meant by that is, our consciousness and our understanding of how high we can actually go has just taken a huge leap upward. And more personally, I try not to make my work about me. I love that it's about other people, but I will say I love that you mentioned how this Uranian energy represents being high up, because I have a very strong Uranus signature in my chart. And I find it very hard to be in houses. Like I love and ideally always try to stay in high rises. Like that, I need to have a view. I need to have a balcony as well, so that I can go and I can breathe the air and I can look out over wherever it is that I am. So I love that you mentioned that as well. So this is a architectural project. Sorry, go ahead.
You will see people born with Uranus, Jupiter will tend to be claustrophobic when the space is too restrictive or, not allowing that fresh breeze to come in. So yes, this is an illustration, I think, that really captures Uranus, Jupiter in Taurus, because it's on the one hand an architectural piece, and Taurus has to do with design. Taurus has to do with building. And so you see that on the one hand, it's functional. You have people living here, or, when the project will actually see the day, but it's also ecological. So there's this whole fusion of the green, which is the earth, Taurus, but in high elevation of Uranus. So it's really taking this interesting combination of, the different altitudes, the different levels of earth and sky coming together. And this project is called Hyperion, which mythologically is one of the children of Uranus. It's actually scheduled to be in India, and it's something that I've heard about for several years now. I don't know where it's at now, but the concept is capturing the signs of these times. So I just wanted to kind of illustrate what I was talking about with this visual earth, sky, expansion. And I think, in a positive way also, we can see how um, there is more consciousness, awareness about how we work with the earth. So Taurus has to do with with the density of survival, whether it's food, whether it's financial security and land, right? So I'm going to speak about how that affects the collective, but also how we can personally ride that wave successfully, because we're talking also about our own financial security and our own ability to generate abundance in this world, in our lives. And so that's an opportunity. There's some kind of portal with this alignment that is unique. And I'm excited to expand on that.
How Taurian it is to consider with this placement, this conjunction that's going to be taking place. Ideas are necessary. They're wonderful. They define humanity in many ways. It's ideas that change the world and shape the world. But what and when they actually lend themselves to manifestation, when we manifest something different as a result of an idea, that's really when we get to see the power of whatever it was that was first nothing, and then it becomes something. And so much of this is taking that nothing out of nowhere, maybe a wild, pipe dream kind of nothing, and manifesting it into something very real, something we can, engage our five senses with, because that's part of Taurian energy as well.
Absolutely. And there's something about these alignments. And, Jupiter has been in Taurus for almost a year now, since last May, June. Uranus has been there for couple of years, since 2018. And so 6 years. What I'm excited about is that they've both been advancing, at their own pace. And now they're at this point where they are actually meeting. So there's a climax of all that has been processed, explored, speculated upon. That it's going to be a moment of convergence and activation. But I'm excited about, just like I'm showing this image, I'm excited about not only this year, but those born with this configuration are going to be amazing artists, amazing musicians, amazing architects, because they will bring this forward vision, this incredible capacity to go beyond the consensus, beyond the current structure, but bring that back into form. And what a fusion, what an exciting time. And like I said, there are also risks because there's something that requires work here. Think about Uranus is the planet of acceleration, of speed. When a rocket flies into space or a plane gains altitude, the reason we're going up is to also go faster because you're defying gravity. And yet Taurus is all about slowing. It's a completely different rhythm. It has to do with, our physical metabolism. Taurus people often have thyroid issues because of the metabolism question. So how will this work together? It's not an instant match, as we say. It needs to be properly handled. And the risk is obviously, when things are going too fast and we're not able to fully integrate it. And so there's some kind of miscommunication or a situation where something is not synchronized. And so it doesn't mean it's the end of it. It simply means, okay, how do we remedy that? It's going to prompt us to do this little exercise with our lives, whether it's a project, whether it's a relationship, whether it's the way we handle our finances, anything. So there are going to be these changing speeds, changing rhythms that we're going to have to properly navigate.
And you mentioned finances. I thought about how this could be a leap in change of our own understanding of what abundance actually is. What does it actually mean to us? How do we define it? And yes, how do we experience it, or more of us experience more of it? Uranus is such an interesting energy because it's hyper individualistic, and it's novel, and it's really unique. But then it's also in some ways connected to the collective. It's about recognizing
Absolutely.
when it is that we collectively take a leap of consciousness, how all of us change in the process.
Absolutely. And that is often, some kind of contradiction, because I hear many astrologers, who will highlight the individualistic aspect, and they forget that Uranus is also related to community and to actually bring people together. So there's some kind of a, like you say, the novelty, the innovation, the fact that you are doing something new sets you apart. But Uranus is about ultimately bringing everyone to the same standard. So it is about working as teams. You will often see, even, talk about music, you will often see musicians in a band who will have strong Uranian signatures, because it's about the band. It's about the team. It's not just about being a solo artist. I see Uranus, tied as a modern ruler of Aquarius. I do think, it proves itself to be. And so Aquarius and Leo is just that. Aquarius is the team versus Leo, who is going to be the hero's journey, the one, the solo artist versus the band or the orchestra. So it is something to think about when we have Jupiter and Uranus together. Think about Jupiter representing also ideology, belief systems, even religion. And so you have the community and you have ideology. So quite often, just like I mentioned Woodstock, with Jupiter Uranus, you have movements starting. So there's a whole ideology or belief or aspiration that brings people together to make a change, to create a cultural movement. And that's very fascinating, right? And we speak about Taurus, which has to do with the earth, but it ultimately, what Taurus is seeking as a very practical sign, it's seeking sustainability. So that's the whole challenge and beauty of this configuration, is that you can have amazing ideas, but they have to be sustainable. So if we manage that, it's going to be something will remember this time for. I'm going to also touch on how, like I said, this happens on the conjunction happens just once this time. Usually, planets go retrograde and back and forth. So there are often 3 meetings when we have important conjunctions. But with these two, they're just coming together, and Jupiter is already galloping forward to meet Uranus. So we'll start feeling it now in the Aquarius month, into March, into April. It's going to be there. And then we're also going to examine during our talk what comes right after that. How will this be integrated and diffused and distributed? So how many hours we have for the workshop? Is it 5 or 8 hours?
It is a 90-minute talk. And I'm sure that Maurice is going to pack in a whole lot in those 90 minutes. And once again, everybody, Maurice is back at Synchronicity University as part of the March 2024 speaker series, where you've got just a couple weeks left to take advantage of our world famous Choose Your Tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class. An unheard of rate to learn from Maurice Fernandez, that's for sure. Maurice was part of a joint weekend event that Synchronicity University did with the London School of Astrology. And that was really exciting. And that was a couple of years back. But of course, I've interviewed you a whole bunch of times. And it's just been so wonderful to see you, Maurice, continue to grow, continue to share, continue to receive recognition, and continue to contribute in many ways to astrology, the community of astrology, but also to the field of evolutionary astrology as well. And I'm so excited about your talk.
I'm looking forward to the talk and to the event. And one other thing I just want to bring up is, like I said, it is this unique opportunity. And one of the rules of astrology is to, just like we're getting, when you know what the weather is going to be, you make better decisions. You do the best, you make the best of it. It's the same with astrology. When you understand what the intention is, then you can ride the wave in a benevolent way. And that's what we're trying to do. And I will also bring into this a way to ceremoniously capture these energies, set our intention, and how to really make a little ritual that that will help us in this alignment.
The connection that we have to the sky, very real. It makes it a lived experience. And so that's a powerful consideration as well, especially considering how rare and just mind blowing, like quite literally mind blowing type of aspect we have here, not to mention how it really has the potential not only to change lives, but that with our awareness of it and tapping into it through ritual, through understanding, through conversation, through learning, we can be part of some really big and positive changes that can take place for us individually, but for the collective as well.
Absolutely. And thank you, everyone. And I'm very honored to be with you and look forward to an exciting and inspiring time.
I'm sure it will be. Thank you again, Maurice. I am so excited about your talk, and I think that you are so brilliant. And I'm just really looking forward to it. So thank you again, Maurice. And thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.